NCAC sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of The Rundown. On this week's show, we'll highlight the first NCAC men's lacrosse games of the 2016 season, a record-setting performance in women's lacrosse from Wooster senior Ellie Hudson-Heck, and a pair of top 5 showings on the links from NCAC golfers. League play kicked off last Saturday across the NCAC in men's lacrosse, with Kenyon, Wittenberg, Wooster, and 11th-ranked Ohio Wesleyan all logging opening weekend victories. The nation's 8th-ranked team, Denison, had the bye in the NCAC last weekend. So instead, the Big Red traveled to the Green Turtle Classic in Owings Mills, Maryland, where they knocked off number 18 Dickinson 9-7 and number 9 Nazareth 16-12 on consecutive days. While senior midfielder Blair Fahrenholt paced the Big Red's offensive attack in the 2 games with 8 total points, it was the defensive play of this week's NCAC Player of the Week selection, junior Teddy Sawyer, that lifted DU to the 2 top 25 victories. Sawyer, a native of Lutherville, Maryland, and a graduate of the McDonough School, led the Big Red with 7 ground balls and 5 caused turnovers in the win over Dickinson, before adding 5 ground balls, 2 caused turnovers, and 1 assist in the 4-point win over Nazareth. NCAC men's lacrosse teams will return to the field this week, with 12 total games on the schedule, highlighted by a Saturday slate that features Ohio Wesleyan hosting Kenyon and Wittenberg traveling to Oberlin. In women's lacrosse, Wooster collected 3 wins in Oregon last week against George Fox, Linfield, and Whitman to improve to 5-0 overall for the first time since the 1977 season. Worcester senior midfielder Ellie Hudson-Heck triggered the Scots' early season success with 28 points on 6 assists and a team-leading 22 goals. Hudson-Heck, who was named the NCAC Women's Lacrosse Player of the Week, combined for 17 goals, 13 ground balls, and 4 assists in the 3 wins in Oregon, which included tying the program's single-game record for goals in a game with 8 in the 16-8 victory over Whitman on Sunday. She is just the 5th player in school history to score 8 goals in a game, and the first to do so since Meg Wood accomplished the feat against Kenyon in 1994. While there are still numerous midweek non-conference games on the schedule, women's lacrosse league play is set to begin this Saturday with 3 games on the slate, highlighted by Kenyon hosting Wittenberg in Gambier at 1 p.m. Finally, we'll close out this week's show on the links, where several NCAC teams competed last week in spring break tournaments in southern states. On the women's side, Denison junior Tina Berardi collected the NCAC Golfer of the Week award after she earned medalist honors at an event for the first time in her career at the Battle at Barefoot last Thursday with an 18-hole score of 82 on the par 71, 5,801-yard Fazio course at the Barefoot Landing Resort in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The 82 was 1 stroke shy of her career best 18-hole round achieved last spring at the Wooster Invitational. On the men's side, the NCAC weekly honor went to Kenyon sophomore Ryan Mothioria after he logged a top 5 individual finish to lead the Lords to a 2nd place showing in the team standings at the Virginia Wesleyan Marlin Invitational. Mothioria jumped out to an early lead in the individual standings with a 69 before closing out the tournament with rounds of 72 and 74 to finish 4th overall with 215 strokes on the par 70, 6,462-yard Elizabeth Manor Country Club in Portsmouth, Virginia. NCAC golf teams return to action this week, with several events on the schedule, led by Wittenberg's men's and women's teams competing at the Butler Spring Invitational, and Wabash taking on Rose Hallman in the annual Giant Engineer Match Play Classic. And as always, NCAC sports fans, for up-to-date news, stats, and standings from around the North Coast Athletic Conference, you can visit our website at www.northcoast.org. Also be sure to follow us on Twitter at NCAC, as well as like us on Facebook. Well, that puts a wrap on this week's show, but be sure to join us again next week for another edition of The Rundown.